Welcome to the Pest Empire Builder podcast. On today's episode, we're hanging out with John from Hawaii and how he's running 50 trucks on the islands. And welcome to the show. I'm so glad you tuned in today. Today we're hanging out with John. John Speed, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Matt.
Yeah, it's great to have you on the show today. And I'm glad you took the time to hang out with me. So you're in Hawaii, which is like paradise. I can't imagine a better place to like live and own a business. I mean, you wake up every day and it's got to be just awesome every day. Is that what it's like?
Yeah, we suffer. We suffer over here. It's a real hardship to, the cost of living. It's today it's super rainy. They will probably close the schools tomorrow. We have some sort of weather front coming through, but it does happen. I have some friends that just canceled a flight out here because it's so wet. In general, it's year round, low 70s to mid 70s and is 70s to 80s year round. It gets a little wetter in the winter. And a little, sometimes when the wind stops, it gets a little bit toasty over here. But that's about it. It's a good temperate climate, perfect for the bugs. And yeah, we love it. I love it.
That's interesting because, pest control can be seasonal in some markets where, clients are like, I'm just going to pause it for the next few months because the ground's covered in snow and I'm not too worried about it. But it's not seasonal there, man. It's like 12 months out of the year.
Yeah, no snow blowing here. We haven't done Christmas lights yet or anything like that. We're pretty steady year round. We have a crazy amount of both drywood and ground termites here, and so we have termite swarming season. There's some interesting things about Hawaii. We don't have like West Nile and Lyme's disease here, so we do have ticks, but we don't have those diseases, and so. The scare factor isn't there as much for mosquitoes and ticks and things like that. But certainly they're a concern, and we do take care of them. But yeah, it's interesting how every market. I know a lot of different markets. I don't know anyone in your market actually. That's interesting. I was trying to think of New Mexico. I'm from Texas originally, and so I know that market pretty well. But also, and I was only there. Born and raised through high school, and then I was off to the races. And came to school out here in Hawaii.
One of the big companies here is Preventive Pest. They're in multiple states here in the Southwest area. And one of the guys that he's a big consultant now in the pest. Alan Fuhrer is based out of Albuquerque. Phenomenal guy, great friend of mine, and so, those guys have a big operation too. Lots of trucks running around. I don't know how many. A few years ago, I know they were hands down the biggest in the state. I haven't checked to see if they still are, but still a pretty big operation here. And I'm not sure if Preventive Pest started here or maybe it started in Utah or Colorado, but they're in multiple states now. And so they're a pretty big outfit for sure. And so like, we have subterranean termites. We have certain bugs here. We have scorpions, which is, kind of regional. But what's interesting about Hawaii is, I've visited there a few times and they're always concerned about what you're bringing with you because the island is a very closed environment. You don't get there's no migration of, you don't a horse isn't going to migrate into your area or a certain four-legged animal. If the species doesn't live there already, then it's kind of an interesting it's kind of an interesting market in that sense.
No, the invasive species, it's a real concern here. Plants as well as pests. We just don't want. We have the rats and the mongoose and for that we don't have any real wildlife to speak of. We have deer and boar right on the island, and those are kind of original. But the boar came from Tahiti back in the day with humans. Right. So,
the chickens are everywhere. I was in Kauai. There's chickens everywhere.
The lovely chickens of Kauai. Lots of chickens. And we do chicken trapping here. So that does provide we do a lot of bird work for sure.
Yes, we have pigeon problems here. You have chicken problems there. I love that.
Yeah, we've got it all. We've got the doves, the pigeons, Yeah, and that's good work. It's not. I mean, that is one thing I said. I was about to say it's not reoccurring. Anything can be reoccurring. You can put a warranty
Sure.
on anything, and we're trying to get better at that. But yeah, that reoccurring revenue. That's the model we're all looking for, right?
Well, absolutely. Yeah. That drives the value of the company up. It also creates income stability. It creates a really great environment, great work for the guys, keeps the crews moving. That's where there's a lot of stability in the business. So I got a question. So you moved from Texas to Hawaii. Did you move there specifically to start pest control, or why'd you start pest control?
Okay, so I went to school at BYU Hawaii, and my brother had done pest control. He was going to school in Utah, and he got started doing door to door and pulled me into it. And it just every year I was like, I will never do this again. But the money was too good, and I could kind of see a pathway. My brother started a business after a couple of years, and it just seemed very reasonable. This was 25 years ago, and so you don't have the multiples or the, I mean, pest control is sexy now. It's a Wall Street PE's looking for it, but at the time you could still see, okay, well, I can that reoccurring. It's very steady, and even now I'm in some peer groups with guys that have $50 million businesses, online businesses and whatnot, and changes in government regulation in the algorithm. Those guys are real business guys. They have to pivot so hard sometimes and make such massive changes in their businesses. It's like, it gives me anxiety, just watching these guys. And for us, it's harder to scale. However, the steadiness of it is, it makes it pretty easy, and the margins make it pretty where you don't have to be as technical, I mean, you still have to watch. People lose their businesses all the time, right?
Yep.
But if you have that model, and what you guys are doing is awesome. If you have a peer group, which is something I didn't have for so many years, like it took me a long time to like even know where to look for help. And now I'm in a peer group the last 6 years or so with a pest control industry peer group called the U Group. And I just remember I was reaching out to a fellow about some of the software he uses. This is like maybe 8 years ago. And he's like, "Oh, when you get up to 2.5 million, you can join our group." Very, very nice guy from Arizona Pest Control. And so I was like, "Okay, that's the goal. Want to get there." And so that was about the 1.5 million, 2 million mark. You kind of have some management. You can breathe a little bit. You can break through, and then from there, I think it goes up. Some people get stuck at that 1.5 million, and because it's hard. And you have to break through that. And if you don't, you can be stuck there for a while, and then you're like, okay, well, maybe I'll sell my business, and it's not big enough to get great money for, but for other folks, they can see, oh, you've gone through all the hard stuff, and it's just a little bit more, and then you're off to the races. You can really go, and then from there, the last probably 8-10 years, we've gone from about 2 million, and now we're at about 12 million now. So, it wasn't necessarily harder than, I mean, the first million's the hardest, right? It is. That's the challenge. And then you can kind of, you can get better. You have more resources to expand and to do great things for your employees and to feel comfortable yourself. And you can't have, managers that make 6 figures if you're not doing well yourself. So that's I think the beauty of pest control, not just again the reoccurring, but that the margin is pretty darn good. And so all the guys that are on the come up, like, just all I can say is keep going, and that it's time, so enjoy it while you're in there. But man, I would say I see these Facebook groups, and they're like, "Oh, I'm at year 2. I'm only at 500,000," and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, it probably took me like 6-7 years to get to 500,000." So you're doing
It's
great.
interesting because, yeah, well, I mean, as new businesses come online and new guys start businesses, you see that the learning curve, because guys like you have forged the way. Now there's a lot more models and there's a lot more experience to pull from. Guys will start businesses now and they scale quicker than when you first started yours. And and so I've owned a bunch of businesses. I've owned 10 different companies. And
Wow.
and so every time that I'm in a business, if I can find an industry mastermind group, my business explodes. Right. Because I learn from other people and I'm surrounded by other people in my industry that help me do it. You mentioned a group that you're part of, and it's like for whatever, 2.5 million and up. One of the things I love about PEB, Pest Empire Builder, is that we have tiers all the way from you're just getting started to like you're just going to launch your business to all the way up, and we bracket it up all the way. So then as you scale and grow your business, your conversation changes because you reach different plateaus, different barriers, different obstacles in your business. Awesome. And so as you're growing your business, you elevate and you move from room to room, essentially to the different tiers of groups. So then the conversation changes because at $12 million and 50, 60 trucks that you have going, right? The challenges that you have in your business are radically different than the guy who has 2 trucks or 3 trucks. And so you want to be in the room with the guys that are in a similar place as you, so you can help, with a coach helping you guys as a team move up and move up and move up. But with resources like that in the industry, it's awesome to be able to grow and scale your business. And so, I think it's really critical to get surrounded by, and even if it's not Pest Empire Builder or even the other group that you're a part of, find a group that can help you for sure, so you can grow and scale your business faster than most everybody else. And you're right, the first million's hard, and it's interesting how there's different plateau points along the way, and what got you here doesn't necessarily get you there. And so it's what works in the beginning. It's like, okay, this worked, but now I have to now make structural changes in my business in order to scale past to the next level. And then what gets you to that next level, you got to make another tweak or a change in the business to get to the next one. And so there's those different levels and barriers in every single business that's out there. And it's good to know what those are in the pest control business as you're growing and scaling a company.
For sure. And guys, spend the money. The money. And it's tough when you're small and it hurts. And I can just say that and this could go either way. You can crash a business, right? But in my experience, when it's been painful to spend the money, whether it's on a great hire, a great manager that it's like, hey, I can't afford this guy, but I need to do it. Or I just got a full-time in-person assistant and I overpaid. I didn't overpay actually. For what the position is, I overpaid, but she's awesome. She is well worth the money we're spending. I can see this, like you can see the value, right? And so, spend the money. It's an investment. And so it's either time or money, right?
Yeah.
So you can do it slow. You can go, and what I did for 10 years, 10, 11 years, is just like, I didn't know where to find, like, to your point, like there wasn't Facebook groups, there wasn't these mastermind things that you have now. Right. But I just went slow, and that's as good as I could do. And now I did a couple of startups last year, and then I'm doing 3 startups this year, as well as I'm in Entrepreneurs Organization, yet another peer group, and I just started an accelerator program. So I'm coaching these companies under $1 million to get over $1 million so that they can join EO, right? And it's been so helpful for me because I'm having to do. So now I'm like, okay, well, we've done this great thing in this one space. If I were to start over, which I'm doing with these startups, so we're doing the pool business, we're doing some other stuff, and rolling up these businesses, we have the resources to do acquisitions. But these startups, we're taking these operators and growing them. And for stuff like, Empire Builder, the pests, the inspectors, like, it is a no-brainer. There's one in the pool business that that we just started with, and it's like $100 a month. It's nothing. and the
Oh,
value.
that's very cheap.
Oh
$100 a
yeah,
month. Wow.
yeah. I don't know anything like that in the other stuff that we're looking at, but in the pool space, it's. I just went to a pool conference in California, and it was interesting comparing, the sexy pool, the pest control business with the pool business. It's lower margin. It's not as sophisticated as far as the technology and some of the things that are more invested in on the pest control side. But who knows? It could be the pest control business 20 years ago, and with all the automations
Yeah.
and things that are coming online, that if you own the customer, then what other services? And as I was saying before, in Hawaii, we're in this island, and there's industries, the geographies in the states, in Hawaii or in the U.S., that are kind of like that. And I think you're saying your industry is kind of like that, or your market, I guess, is like,
Yeah.
it's hard to go to the next state or city, and you can. I know guys in the industry like Iowa, right? And it's like, oh, they have their one market, but to go out, it's going out to these really little locations, and the density isn't as good. It's very difficult, and for us, it's the next island over, which is incredibly difficult, not just in getting there and starting up, but the psychology of the different islands are so different. If you start up a business on Kauai, they don't want a business from the mainland. They don't even want a business from Oahu. They want the local guys. So even if it's a Oahu-based company, if you're in Kauai, it's like, oh no, we want the local guys, and it's incredibly hard to get employees too over there. So everybody has their different. You have to build to your market, right? And that's what's so cool about being in an industry group, is you get these different geographies from all over the place, and you say, oh, I've friends in the industry that have like crazy mosquito programs, that are like several $1 million in just what did they call it? Municipal government contracts,
Oh, right. Yeah.
You have some people that are heavy termite, and so they have heavy termite and really specialized things that they do, and value add things that they do for their customers, that you're like, oh man, that's interesting. Can I do that in my market? Or what does that look like? But there's so many ways to skin the cat, and it's fascinating to see what other people do. And some of it you can take from, some of it you can't. Some guys are like super good and have these in-house video people and super good on social media and kill it that way. Some guys have door to door that is just dialed in, and they're just like printing money, and the velocity at which they can grow is just incredible. And so you get not only seeing the intricacies of what these guys do, but just getting stoked off personality and seeing how they operate is really fun.
Yeah. So it's interesting how you kind of talked about like how different markets have different personalities. And that's true in the States. If you're in Texas, there's a certain mindset. Yeah. If you're in Portland, Oregon, it's a completely opposite mindset, and so, but expanding from Dallas to Portland, you really wouldn't do necessarily. That's not a natural progression, but in parts of the country, especially in the Northeast, New England area, you drive 20 minutes, you're in a different metro. In 30 minutes, you're another little, like you can easily expand across the way. In New Mexico, we have Albuquerque, which is where I'm located. That's 1 million people in Albuquerque. The next major city is Denver or Colorado Springs up in Colorado, or it's in Arizona. We live because it's a giant desert, and there's just one city in the middle of the state. And to go to another big city, you got to cross state lines is how it's set up here. And for you got to like get in a boat and go to the next island, or a plane and go to the next island.
Canoe.
And a canoe. That's right. Do it the traditional way. Yeah. A canoe over to the next island. Right. And it's true how in Hawaii, like every island has a different culture. I know you've expanded into different islands. How do you do that? How do you adjust your company to adapt to the culture in the next market, because there's guys listening that are thinking about expanding their business to another market. And I know that other market's going to have a little bit different culture, but Hawaii has a very different culture from island to island. How do you do that?
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's the opportunity. It's the opportunity of the business, if it's an acquisition, and it's the opportunity of people. So I'm looking at different operators for these different companies on Oahu, right? These different home services businesses, and so it's personality, and you can see from the on the acquisition side. So we bought this company in Maui, and you can see that it's kind of interesting. I had worked with this company for about 15 years, talking, building relationships, and just if we could work together. And the last time I called them, it wasn't even to buy their business. It was we had a statewide contract, and they only wanted to deal with us, but we're not on different islands, so we had to partner. And so I wanted to partner with these guys, and they're like, okay. And they're like, hey, come over, let's have a conversation. And it sounded like, okay, maybe they were ready to sell. And yeah, it just depends. So, and their situation was they were actually running it remotely from Washington State. And so they were like, hey, if they were running it remotely, we can run it remotely from Oahu. And so they had good people so it was just a fit. So you were talking about personality and the personalities of the states. And so that continuity of management and people on the ground, and then just trying to take as good care of them as we can. And it takes effort. We have to, fly over to Maui and, take them out to lunch, do the Christmas dinners, and then we fly them over to Oahu, right, for our annual conferences and Christmas parties and things like that. And so, just trying to
that's cool.
Integrate.
Do you have a separate brand on the different islands? Is it a separate brand, or did you rebrand it to all be one brand?
That's a great question, and we did not rebrand. It's been 3 years. We do have our name Kilauea on the trucks, but the original name was Bugman, and that brand has been there for like 35 years. The employees actually want us to change it to Kilauea, just like, hey, do a rebrand. So, I've heard companies, you slow roll it, over the first year. It's been 3 years now. Yeah. And we do have actually a couple of trucks that we've done up just Kilauea that are waiting to be shipped over there. And so we're taking our time. We're taking our sweet time. But I think tying it into Kilauea, and then also we didn't know how it was our first foray into another market, and so we weren't even sure it was going to work, right? And so I was very slow. Sometimes I'm a little slower to make decisions, and but on the big ones, like something like for example, production pay. Like we've paid hourly for many years. We're really good at it. I see a lot of different P&Ls in from different companies, and I can see, okay, well, what we're doing works, but you have to look forward to the future and like, hey, is this sustainable, right? Where is the market going? What direction is it going? And so people want more services. They want more home services, and more people don't want to work in home services. So you are going to have to pay people more and figure out a way to do that. And so we're like, okay, well, production pay needs to happen at some level, whether they're selling, whether they're doing content on the side, whether they're referring people, or whether they're just better at their jobs and more, the ROI is better, they're more efficient. Then if we're making money, they need to make money, right? And so to kind of share the wealth and give them a career path where they can. In Hawaii, it's pretty common for not 3 or 4, but 2 or 3 generations to live in one house, because it's the real estate is so incredibly expensive here, and so to give them a pathway to where they can make $70,000, $80,000, $90,000 a year and look at getting their own place is like, pretty special. And I think it's incumbent upon us as business owners to really think through that process of how do we pay our people more. And with that, you actually have less people, right? The other trick in it
Yep.
is, in my experience, people don't want to work 40 hours. They don't want to work as much, And so even with making
Right.
more money, today's generation, it's more about the time off and the travel and these other things. And so, and that's not for everybody for sure, but it's a factor. And so whatever, we're in a seller's market, for labor,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think it's going to get any better. And so whether it's coming from within the industry or just from the people that don't have a college education or don't have the same opportunities, if we can really drill down on our training, if we can give them opportunities that they otherwise wouldn't have, and make it a great place to work, then they're gonna be around for a long time, and
Yeah.
that's what you need in the home services space.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Keeping your employee turnover will kill you.
Yeah,
It's having a bad hire is so expensive.
yeah,
It's not just the loss of revenue, sorry, it's not just the loss of payroll. Like, oh, I paid this guy X amount of dollars before I had to let him go. But sometimes those bad employees or the bad hires can cause morale damage inside of your
for sure.
organization. You could lose customers over that, because maybe they're not doing a great job. And so the cost of a bad hire is super expensive, and turnover can kill you. And so you want to have good people, and you want to create an environment, like you said, where they can thrive, and they're not going to be leaving. They're going to stay for a while. Like, that's where you really want it. And so, did you switch everybody from hourly to a production pay?
Yeah, so we actually have three departments that run fairly separately. They have their own call centers, they have their own salespeople, and that's termite, commercial pest control, and residential pest control. And so,
Okay.
so we've started in a couple of those departments, and then the other department we're working on more the sales side of things, because it's higher ticket items with termites, and so trying to work more of the this is for a lot of industries, is the technician slash sales guy, and that's a
Uh-huh.
hard nut to crack, because if you were that great a sales guy, you wouldn't be in the field. And a lot of technicians just want to do their work, which is great, but if you
Yeah.
can make it easy for them, if you can do the training, if you can make accessible opportunities for them, then it can work. It can work. And so, and like I say, that's a lot of different industries. My dad's uh he's in temperature measurement instruments in refineries. And he's like, well, we need to
Okay.
go into the refineries and work, but when you're in the refinery, that's when you can talk to people, and so they need technicians that can
Yep.
sell, also completely different industry. But the fact of the matter is, if you want to make good money, you need to be able to sell, and
Yeah. And
that's
if you have your guys on production pay, then as they're out there working, if they're upselling the clients, they're going to get paid more for doing the
yeah,
service, and possibly even a commission on the sale. I mean, however you structure it, but they're
uh
going to make more money that way. And yeah, so I was curious how you are transitioning people from hourly to production, and how those conversations go, because people, when you mess with people's pay, and
yeah,
when you adjust it, when you're making changes, those are tough conversations to have.
yeah,
And I was going to ask you how you're navigating that, because that's a tough challenge.
yeah. It is, and we just started it, so I think these guys are just getting paid their first monthly. It's like been a month and a half since we kind of started it in January, and we've just had to really make sure that they know that, hey, we are trying this out. You're going to get your base pay. So anything over, that's a bonus, and it could adjust. We do have some, and we have some people that, some employees that are really good at their production, but maybe they don't show up for work every day. or maybe they're a little bit late to their first appointment. And so we have these qualifiers in place that they have to do those things, right? They have to.
Oh, that's great.
They can't call out more than a couple of times, I think, in a month or something like that. Or, if you're more than 15 minutes late to your first appointment, after a couple of times, then you don't qualify for that production pay. And so they know it's a holistic thing that makes it good for them and good for the team, good for the schedulers, good for the other employees that, hey, if you just randomly call out, it's hard. I get it. People have sick kids that they need to be home with, but there's workarounds. And if there's an economic consequence to that, then people will generally figure it out.
They will. They're a lot more motivated to figure it out rather than be like, yeah, sorry, boss, deal with it. Right. And you get them connected to it where they're winning. Like they get rewarded for their consistency and keeping the company standards and your culture right and keeping, everybody taken care of. That's awesome that you've connected it all the way through like that, where it's like showing up on time is a metric. I think that's really important. And now people are getting rewarded for maintaining the standards. And that'll overall keep your quality of work high and keep your customers happy. I love how you've done that. And so now you're on Oahu and you're on Maui. Are you on any other islands right now?
So the Maui branch has one guy in Molokai, and so there's like 18,000 people on Molokai. So it's not a moneymaker, but at least it's not a money loser now. And I personally want to spend more time on Molokai. I love the idea. There's great hunting over there. It's a very hyper local place. And so
I was going to ask, I think that's the one where, Hollywood boys like whatever, like me can't go, right? You as a visitor, you can't go. You have to be like an actual Hawaii resident to go there. Is that right? Yeah.
So that's Niihau is like where you cannot go. You can't go. There's no like flights there or anything. Interesting little fun fact. You can go to Niihau if you go hunting. So they have hunting things, and they have some crazy, like, I forget what they are, but something. They have African animals over there that you can hunt on Niihau. So,
wow,
for whatever it is, $2,500, you can go to this island that most people can't go to. But Molokai, no, you can go to Molokai.
Okay, I think I had those confused.
Yeah, no, and it's common. There's a lot of little islands over here, but yeah, Molokai is great. We'd love to do more business over there and kind of own it. But you have islands like Lanai that, again, good hunting, but there's not even a pest control company there. And so there's maybe 2 or 3 pest control companies that will send a guy over. They have a truck, they fly in and jump in their truck and treat the route for a day or two, and then fly back to Maui or fly back to Oahu and do the things, do a couple of hotels, and then that's it, because there's not that many people there. Yeah. But
that's so interesting. Like it's such hyper local, tiny little markets.
Yeah.
And you just found ways to get into the niches. Like, there's gold in the cracks, right? And you got to find the cracks and find the gold veins that you can find. And it sounds like there's little niches around the islands that you can find little spots to carve out a little bit of business.
Yeah. And it depends on what you want to do with your business. Like if you want like crazy lifestyle and you're down for like 2 or 3 employees and just want to scratch out, like you could go to Kauai and do that. It would be hard, but you're there. Are maybe not even pest control, but if you were, say, a refrigerator repair and you went to Kauai and you answered the phone, you could make $300,000 a year by yourself. Like no problem.
That's a solo, no employees, solopreneur.
Yeah.
And that's an efficiency. Like we talked earlier, there's like efficiency windows and there's areas of like plateaus and as far as profitability percentage wise, solopreneur you're never going to get a higher percentage of profit than being a solopreneur and just doing it all yourself. Right. And you are literally trading your time for dollars. And as you scale, you're trading your time and other people's time for dollars. And then as it gets bigger and bigger, you're just trading other people's time for dollars, in any business that you're scaling. But yeah, it's an interesting culture over there.
Yeah.
And why did you get into pest control? Oh, that's right. You told me why. Why did you move to Hawaii though? Was it for college?
Oh, for college. Yeah. So I went to BYU Hawaii, met my wife here, and she's from Oregon, and she was like, I'm not going to be cold again. And so we're pretty much. Oh my
gosh, right? It's so cold. I was born in Portland, Oregon.
Oh yeah.
I was born in Portland. Yeah. And so I'm very familiar with Oregon and Portland, Oregon area. Yeah, for sure. It's all gray skies and rainy there. And now you're at 70 something perfect weather and sunshine and surfing and I have a friend that has a home inspection company on the island of Kauai. And
okay.
Yeah, and so but he talks about the surfing culture, how if the waves are good, like people don't want to show up to work, they want to just go they want to go surf.
Yeah. And
which
and
is
people
kind of funny.
Yeah, it depends on the market, because if people want great service and they'll wait, and just I'll give an example. Like, we're trying to get our house painted, and we have gotten it's about a 5,000 square foot house, so a little bigger than most Hawaii homes, but we're getting quotes for over $100,000, $120,000 to paint the outside of the house. It's crazy. Yeah. Whoa. And so we finally dialed in, and I was like, okay, do I need to fly somebody out from the mainland, or what needs to happen? And so we finally got a quote.
That's crazy.
We finally got a quote for under half of that, but we have to pay somebody to like put up scaffolding around our house and things like that. And it's not. But we're happy to pay it because people want good service, and it's hard to find. And so we just started a pest control company in Southern California, in Orange County, this last year, Oso Pest Control. And it's a different company. It's a different value proposition. We're doing a lot with plants and plant pests and things like that. And we have some really good operators down there. And but that is a very it's a very competitive market, right? And so you have to differentiate yourself, right? And and people, even in that hyper market, they want really good people. And it's like Hawaii, they want local people. So they don't necessarily want the national brands or whatever. And so that's where things like, social media, and again, if you're 1-2 person outfit, and it doesn't have to be slick, but if you can communicate, who you are, your values, what you're about, and then deliver on those things, like you can scratch out a living in any of these services.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay. So now you're in California too. Where else are you? Are you located anywhere else?
No. And California is just kind of a mahalo to my brother, Paul, that actually got me in the business. He's getting back into the pest control industry after probably 15 years. And it's something that, I'm happy to help him out, and give some of our resources. So we have, myself and 2 other partners down there. And so they'll come out to Hawaii sometime for leadership meetings and quarterly meetings and things like that. And I'll just, last time we flew them out, we had them sit in a room, and I just had my management team go through and spend a couple of hours with each of them. Hey, our marketing director come in, can, download with them. Our HR director can, okay, this is, it's Hawaii state law, but it's like the feel-goodery of, culture and things like that. And then some of our operations people to come in and help support them. And then, give them support on, phone training and all these other things. And then for us, that's a very, very different market than Oahu.
Very.
And it's a very different scene. Like, we have amazing reviews. We have all the trucks that have been going around for 20 plus years, and so I'm like, okay, let's use LSA. LSA, easy. Like, it's a no-brainer. They did LSA, and they're at the bottom of like 20 people. And so if they're getting any leads, they're complete junk. you know? And so
Wow.
they didn't get any good leads from LSA. And so they scrapped that, and they're onto some Facebook marketing, some other stuff, even some Yelp that's been pretty good. But it's something that a new company is just at a different, you know, thing with
Yeah, it's
their
hard for a
marketing.
new company to break through, especially in a high population, high density market like Southern California, where there's a
Yeah.
lot of competition and there's a lot of work to do. But
Yeah.
if you're trying to get on, LSA, any kind of Google, Yelp, any of these other kinds of companies, in the beginning, it's like, well, you have like 10 reviews and you're competing against somebody who has 10,000 reviews and they've been doing it for, 20 years. Like
Yeah.
you are the anchor point on your market to where other people, they have a hard time competing with you because you're the big guy and you've got all the reviews and you have the track record and the 2 decades of service and all that stuff. And so the new guy coming in, his LSA ads and everything else, it's like he gets buried by you. And then you go to LA, Los Angeles, and then now it's like, oh man, now I'm getting buried by these other people.
Yeah.
And so now you got to get real creative. When you're the small guy in a big market, you got to get real creative on your marketing, your advertising, how you're going to do it. And I think that's where maybe, getting the door-to-door grassroots probably works a little bit better in some of those markets, but then digital works great too. And so you got to figure out how are you going to navigate this and the marketing and the sales and the customer acquisition side of it would be very different. I mean, I know the actual technician side of it's a little bit different as well. You're dealing with different creatures and species and different seasonal things like that. But I think the hardest part is getting the growth, the customer acquisition, and how do you do that part?
For sure. For sure. So I actually went from Southern California. I would sell pest control there, and then I worked for my brother's company there, and then starting a business in Hawaii. So I came from the California market for a few years. And so, and I did door to door for 4 years. And so, I'd be on the doors talking to people. Oh, we're going to treat, with the dust inside the wall voids and whatever. And then you get out to Hawaii and half the homes are single wall construction. Like there's no wall void, and so it's
right.
Okay, well, this is a different pitch, there's centipedes and different issues that you're dealing with in Southern California. There was, these Argentine ant colonies that go from San Diego to Northern California, one colony, and in Hawaii it's all more the plants and the the different species of ants that get inside, and they're a little different, and you treat for them differently, and so there's definitely the different service aspects, but it's all different, and so that's the kind of the joy and the fun of. For me personally, is like, okay, well, we did this thing in Hawaii, and it's not imposter syndrome, but it's also Hawaii's a unique market, and we've kind of nailed that.
Yep.
Can I do it in a competitive market? How good am a business person am I? And so that's been fun to kind of get spanked a little bit. It's hard. It is very difficult. But again, I have some great partners, and it's just a grind, and it's at a different time in life and a different level of investment upfront that we're doing because we want to grow fast. And when I started my business, I didn't have the overhead. It was me and my wife, and we just had a new baby, and we were coming out of college. So it's like, hey, we're just not in debt, we're just doing our little thing, and I have an amazing wife that doesn't need all the bells and whistles. She's just happy being in Hawaii and being warm. But yeah, it's been fun. It's been a fun process. I'm about to turn 52, so I'm not a spring chicken, but I'm not getting out of the industry anytime soon. In fact, that's what I'm looking at is I'm starting these other home service businesses and these different opportunities right now, because I do feel like, hey, in 5 years, that might not be enough to grow a business before I want to pull back from working full time, and so now I have the energy, I have the time, and I'm like, okay, well, we can do a few things and get get the balls rolling, because I just know now with our business, I have an amazing executive team, and the plates are spinning really well. And I certainly have to hold people accountable and be involved a bit, but I have basically a Friday meeting and then a few one-on-ones in between, and I'm good. And for a lot of years, I did that, and I was not partially retired, but I had a lot of free time. And
Yep.
now it's like I'm back into it with all these different businesses and super busy, but I've never had such a fun time in my business. And so I'm just stoked for the next, 10, 20 years, and see what we can do again with the resources, the people, and the opportunity to to go to those next levels.
Yeah, no, I think that's awesome. And yeah, those seasons of where it's like, okay, it's running really well, doesn't take a lot of effort. But then it's like, okay, after it doesn't take too long. I've had those seasons too, and it doesn't take too long. And it's like, okay, I got the itch. I gotta keep building. I can't just chill anymore.
Yeah.
And I'd love to see your passion and enthusiasm for continuing to build and continuing to grow and continuing to make, new businesses and venture into new areas. And I think that's really cool. One of the things that you said earlier on that was kind of been sitting in my head is that there's certain plateaus and breakthrough points that are hard to get through. And you mentioned about the million and a half range is I think you said that was like the hardest one to get through. Is that, I think that's what you said. And getting through that, what had to change? Like what got you up to that point, and what did you have to change to be able to break past that point?
For me, it wasn't so much a breakthrough. It was just I didn't really plateau. I was just on a very slow incline. So it just took forever. It took so many years, right, to get up to that point. And one thing that helped was I've always been kind of lifestyle first, right? So, and that's another thing that really slowed me down in the beginning is I'd rather have the time than the money. I'd rather go surf.
Yeah.
I'd rather go, do all those other things. And so a goal that we had, my wife and I, we'd always talked about traveling. And so we we thought, hey, if we can get the business to a point where when our oldest son is like in 8th grade, before he gets into high school, we should take off a year and travel. And so we worked towards that. And that's about the time where we were at that kind of that 2 million point where we took off a year. We left the business in the hands of our managers, and we were in Europe for about 5 months, and then we were in New Zealand for a couple of months, and then Asia, and just homeschooled the kids.
So cool. Yeah.
Amazing time. But we knew that the managers were good enough. We trusted them. And I've been kind of a hands-off guy, which is a bad thing and a good thing, right? If you have great people, it's an awesome thing because they own their business, they own their business book of business, and they're trying to grow it, and they're feeling successful, and they feel like, and they have a little business, right? Whereas you can do the same thing, and I have done that, right? I did that. I can specifically think of times in the office where we had people that I was in the field. I was taking a lot of the calls, and then I turned it over to the office, and we'd have one person in the office, and I didn't check in with them, and they didn't do the greatest job, and we didn't find out until they left on vacation. They came back, and we had to work in the office, and we're like, oh my gosh, all this stuff hasn't been done, or a bad person in the office that I just found this out this week. There was a lady, this is like 10 years ago, but she had a Christmas party the same night that I had the work Christmas party, and only one person showed up to my Christmas party. Everybody else was at this other Christmas party. Like, oh no, I just found that out. And so it's like, this lady, like, she didn't even like me, and she was running the office,
Wow.
And so, and what I know. And so but check it out. That is on me. I didn't have the oversight. I didn't have the controls. I didn't, invest in her apparently as much as I should have. And so, after that experience, I was like, hey, I this is one of those things. Hey, I can't afford it, but I'm hiring two people in the office to watch each other, and maybe they can
Yeah.
collude, but you get to that point where it's like you're kind of forced into that situation. You feel like that you have to spend the money to grow. And then
Yep.
one of the people that I hired, she is now our integrator and general manager, and she's amazing. And she and now we're in a situation where she can make really good money and take her family on vacations, and it's really cool and really satisfying to see the growth of people. And it's I certainly got lucky with a lot of my managers coming on, but it was our business and our culture that kept them on until we could really pay them more and invest in them, and that investment I think has paid off. So
Yeah, it sounds like it really has as you continue to grow, and
yeah.
and you've built a really substantial company in kind of a smaller market. I mean, it's a million people, and you've built a pretty substantial company in that market. So that's really cool to see. See what you've done there, man. I'm sure some of our audience are going to have questions. Maybe they want to know, how'd you break through this? How'd you get over this? If someone has questions and wants to reach out to you, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
You can email me at john@kilaueapest.com. Try to spell that. Kilauea. But the best is just John Speed. I think it's John F. Speed on Instagram, or you can email me, or if you Google John Speed Hawaii, something will come up and you'll get on my social medias and whatnot. And yeah, just reach out. I'd love to connect with anybody that I can help on that front. Thank you.
Yeah, John, thanks for being on the show today. This has been fantastic. And I look forward to maybe seeing you on another one down the road.
Yeah. Come on out to Hawaii. We'll take care of you.
Oh, perfect. Thanks.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thanks, man.